Facts Verse presents. When a woman uncovered an old letter from her mom, she realized her childhood was based on a lie. Sarah Jane King knew growing up that she wasn't like other kids in her neighborhood. She was the only mixed-race girl in a predominantly white area. She grew up in Crowhurst in Surrey, which is about 25 miles from London. She remembers looking out the window every morning while growing up, looking across the fields at the chickens and the lambs, and Sarah always felt like she was different than the other kids. Being half-black, her classmates would always touch her hair because it felt different than theirs. She lived a middle-class existence, and nobody looked like her. She says she absorbed other people's views of her. She was adopted, so she and her adopted brother didn't look anything like their parents. They were both mixed race, while their parents were 100% Caucasian. Growing up, Sarah's parents never told her much about where she came from or who her biological parents were. Sarah would often ask where she came from, and her parents would give her only minor details. They would tell her that she was originally from South Africa and they couldn't conceive a child of their own, so they turned to adoption. When she asked more about her birth parents, her adopted parents just shut the conversation down. As Sarah got older, her feelings of isolation grew worse. Things got so bad that when she was 13 years old, she overdosed on paracetamol. She survived, but she never felt any better. A year after she tried to kill herself, she went into her parents' room when they weren't home, and she started sorting through all their papers to see if she could find any proof of her past. And while she was going through their documents and other personal belongings, she found a letter addressed to her. Sarah was shocked to see that the letter was from her biological mother. It was written a year after she was born. Finally, she was getting the answers to the secrets of her life, the ones her adoptive parents had been keeping from her entire life. She learned that her adoptive parents had told her the truth. She really was born in South Africa. She also found out that her mother, like her adopted mother, was a white British woman. She was studying in the UK in the late 1970s, and she fell in love with a man from South Africa, a white man. After graduating from college, she followed him back to his homeland. When Sarah's biological mother arrived in South Africa in 1979, she and her boyfriend began working at a hotel in Johannesburg. It didn't take long, though, before Sarah's mother realized she wasn't happy in that relationship, and before long she turned her attention toward the hotel's head chef, who was black. The two became romantically involved, but it was risky. In the 1970s, couples from different races in South Africa were not accepted. They were actually dangerous. Under the sway of apartheid, the country had prohibited relationships between black and white people. If people found out that the couple was together, the consequences could have been dire. When Sarah's mother found out that she was pregnant, she began to panic. She didn't know if the baby was her boyfriend's or her lover's. If it were her lover's baby, people would find out that they had a romantic relationship. The only thing she could do was wait for the baby to be born to find out who the father was. In 1980, Sarah was born. At first, she appeared white, and Sarah's mother was relieved. She and her boyfriend named her Caroline. They raised her as any parents would, and a few weeks later they realized they were wrong about her color. As Sarah got older, her skin got darker. It was evident that she was mixed race, and she could no longer hide her affair. The baby would ensure the authorities would come and bring her before a judge. Sarah's mother knew it wouldn't just be her parents who would be punished if the affair was discovered either. Growing up mixed race in South Africa meant that Sarah would be separated from the other children. She would be taken from her parents and sent to an orphanage. With no options left, Sarah's mother, her husband, and their doctor came up with an idea. They claimed that Sarah had an uncommon kidney disease and they had to fly to London to seek care for the baby. When they got there, they could safely put the baby up for adoption, and the affair would never be discovered. This British couple adopted Sarah, and her mother flew back to South Africa. When she arrived home, she told everybody Sarah had died of her kidney disease in the UK. Sarah was devastated after reading that letter. She was abandoned because of the color of her skin, and she felt like her birth mother's dirty little secret. When Sarah grew up, she went to school to be a journalist, but she still wanted to speak to her birth mother. She sent a letter and waited for a reply. It wasn't what she had hoped for. The letter simply said, "Don't contact me again." It opened some old wounds, and Sarah fell victim to substance abuse and an eating disorder. She lost contact with her adoptive father, and her brother committed suicide. She tried unsuccessfully to find her birth father, and her addiction got worse. While looking for treatment facilities, she found that South African clinics offered more affordable care. In South Africa, she got the care she needed and connected with her half-brother. She felt like she was home and decided to move there permanently. She went on to write a book about her life called Killing Caroline. When a woman uncovered an old letter from her mom, she realized her childhood was based on a lie. It changed the course of her life forever. Subscribe for more.